Well, this mysterious process, sounds like it is. I understand that it's a very beautiful and subtle process. Um, I guess we talk about this a lot, and Maharishi should talk about it a lot, that, the householder's way of life is at least equal, and Maharishi even said at one point superior to the recluse's way of life because of the fulfillment that comes to the heart through being a householder and having relationships. But this final stage of this process, the second phase of the process going into the third phase, it almost sounds to me that like the householder is at a sort of a disadvantage, because this process, it must require somehow, it doesn't happen overnight, but it sounds like you have to kind of be in that cocoon, sort of protected from the world and protected from responsibilities and all that kind of thing, in order for this to sort of unfold. And I guess I wonder about, in the Vedic way of thinking about life, that the first years you're a student and you're learning, the next set of years you're a householder and have responsibilities. Then the third stage, you begin to let go of your possessions. And then the fourth stage, you sort of become more like a recluse. I don't know if that's really a misrepresentation of what was originally meant or how it's understood. Just as an aside, when I was
let me
okay,
interrupt you there,
sure.
so that we don't roll with it too fast. Like, this should not be understood literally, although it has been a lot, and the attempts were made to make this into some kind of almost structure of society and kind of. No, we always looked for internal dimension of this, so that we have clarity. These are stages of psychological development, not stages of life in terms of number of years, even though the aspect of it reassuring that there's a steadfast order in a society maintained has its place and always does. So back in the days, obviously, there has to be that which will safeguard this, which, by the way, in India in particular, since you brought that, I want to point out that was ruptured. Let's not forget it. In India, this rupture, these 4 stages of life, actually were ruptured, and a lot of youth found their way out of this simply because somehow it felt as a way out of heavy duty of psychological responsibility that many young men did not want to take and preferred the ascetic manner of life and all its hardship. Do you see what I mean?
Yes.
This is very clear. We should not just have this all seen in rosier scholarly perspective. This is a reality of the situation, that in India in particular, this really took that kind of form where it simply went into hiding in Brahman. Remember that, how I kind of referred that to. Whereas the 4 stages refer to psychological unfoldment. And in most cases, if we really attentive, has nothing to do with ages themselves of the man. It can happen to someone in a very early age. Some people begin to ask crucial existential questions of themselves when they are in their tender teenage years. I'm sure many of you did. I certainly did, and I know many of you did. So this whole progression there is broken down. So we cannot allocate that, how it works out. Many people, on the other hand, I've also met and befriended. In the same way, it's like with regard to creativity. What's the difference? I will first have to have some kind of stability in my life so that I can throw myself into the foray of creativity. It will never happen, because creativity is not something that one does. Creativity is, in a way, a state of being. It's a manner of relating. So if someone is creative, one cannot help but being held hostage to the process. How it will make one, which way one will be bended is different, right? So going back to this householder's position in this, yes, when it comes to that, what now you alluding to, in a sense, and the process doesn't take prisoners. So it has no regard for any morals or any conditionings that otherwise take precedent in one's life. It will do what it needs to be done. This is the understanding. But at some point, I want this also to be clearly understood by all of you. This is something we've mentioned earlier when we spoke about, when you asked me to give it a bit of a warm-up. And that is that what we speak of individuality here is not something that will be taken by you gradually. Therefore, I want to adjust what Maharishi said. I want to comment on this. It is never something which will be transcended by itself. It's a conscious act of self-offering. So in all monistic traditions, in particular in real, not pseudo-monistic traditions, this is always understood. You will find in Vaishnavism, which is dualistic throughout, there is almost philosophical and esoteric platform to remain in a status quo, because Vaishnava loves to lament for God. So God, the deity, is very important, and they don't want to part from that. So therefore, it's dualistic not because of some kind of shortcomings of that philosophy. Philosophy is, or esoteric perspective, is something that is being settled on. Do you see the difference? In Vaishnavism, dualistic is perspective of the one who is here as that soul, Atma, and Brahman, has nothing to do with that Advaitic equation. And it is only in those traditions where utter and entire monistic perspective is adopted, where that act of self-offering is being done, because it's a conscious act. So waiting for it's like, sort of like, you know, that you wake up one day, okay, let's use this, transparent, self-free, ego-free kind of like, this is deluding oneself, you see? It's a kind of, if you will, a job, a work, you know, it's like offering, you know? You cannot have your cake and eat it too. How many times I said that, and it kind of falls, sometimes now feels almost falls like, why you cannot have your cake and eat it too? Well, that's why. That's what it means, right? Frozen mandalas, right? Mandalas are made to be given back to the elements.
Right.
That painstaking attention went into building this mandala when the breath becomes refined, because as the breath course, all that powder will be all over the place. Think about it.
Yeah.
Sitting there, meticulously doing that, full picture is unfolded, breathtaking, and you know, and done properly by skilled ones. But It has to be all given back, smashed, all these colors mixed together again. Go with the wind. Not having some spray with a fixative from the art shop and then put glass on top of it, you know? That's what our culture is. It's this. This is. Individual is a frozen mandala. That's what our culture has become. This is the what is considered in the West today, the final frontier, the greatest realization, the greatest achievement of humankind. Calcified sense of individual leads to individualism and nothing else. And more and more and more conflict. Maybe we should open up to some others.
Yeah, thank you very much, Vamadeva. Appreciate it. Big Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.